This is Coogan Cassius for IFL TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. We're in Essex here for the Lee Purdy benefit dinner. With me from Sky Sports, Adam Smith. How are you, Adam?
I'm good, Coogan. How are you?
Very well. Just waiting for the boxing season to really kick in. We've got Germany this week, obviously, and also Martin Murray fighting, so it's going to be a big weekend for British boxing.
I think it's a fantastic week, isn't it? I'm off to Berlin tomorrow morning. Really excited about the rematch with Arthur Abraham and Paul Smith. I think Paul's got a really good chance if he can fight at the level he did last time, maybe even up the tempo. You know, who knows? He could pull it off. And a great fight as well with Gennady Golovkin, who I think is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Huge puncher, isn't he? But Martin Murray, you know, strong, tough, robust. He's been in with the likes of Martinez over in Argentina. I think he's got every chance of giving Golovkin his toughest night. So looking forward to both of them.
Certainly hope so. Lee Purdy. I mean, what was it about Lee Purdy that... Obviously, just spoke to Barry Hearn, who was a keen favourite of Lee Purdy over the years. But what was it for you for Lee Purdy? Gave us so many great nights, like the Vassell fight. Obviously, that strange night in Atlantic City with Alexander. Didn't quite make the weight, so he technically didn't fight for the world title. But it's all part of the Lee Purdy story.
Barry absolutely loves Lee Purdy. He had a huge soft spot, didn't he? Sort of cheering him on from ringside. I always liked Lee. I liked Lee when I first saw him because he gave value for money. He was exciting. He was... he had that sort of style where he just put everything on his sleeve, didn't he? He went out there. He was a little warrior, never the sort of slickest fighter, but always carried power, carried so much courage, and was deceptively, you know, good against Craig Watson in those fights. He was really robust, and he boxed better than people gave him credit for as well, and always in good fights. Even the last one with Leonard Bundu, really good fight until right at the end. So yeah, I'll remember him as an exciting, you know, fan favourite scrapper who did really well to get that sort of dream chance in Atlantic City. Yeah, you're right, didn't quite work out with the weight, and he was always going to be struggling anyway against a guy of Alexander's class, I think. But good to see him fight in America, and a good story, a good ride.
Limited or no amateur background, fought his way on the unlicensed circuit, which is, it's not the most common thing in boxing, but, you know, a few boxers have learned their trade that way, but if you're good enough, you're good enough. It's
funny, you know, everyone was talking about at the moment Carl Frampton and Scott Quigg and who'd get the better of that. And you sort of lean towards Frampton probably because of that amateur pedigree, the fact that he had so much experience as an amateur, you know, and Scott Quigg's learnt more maybe as a professional. So you know, you're almost at a sort of disadvantage if you haven't had that. And Purdy, yeah, nothing. You know, he came in as sort of, you know, fresh face and just ready to go. And I think he fought like that pretty much through his career and probably did a lot better than maybe he thought he would. And, you know, to end up in Atlantic City on a night like that, you know, it just shows that it can get you places. You know, a lot of belief, a lot of dedication, a lot of sort of fighting spirit, but you need a little bit of class as well. You know, he was a British champion. He had those wins over Craig Watson, and you know, he fought at a good international level as well. So he learned a lot, and he was with a good trainer in Tony Sims and a good stable, and I think that really helped breed the success that he did. But you know, fantastic because he didn't have that beginning. But yeah, a real sort of Lee Purdy, he just lit it up, didn't he? He lit up a stage, and it may not have been at top level, but it was always good and always fun and always exciting to be around a Lee Purdy fight.
A very small percentage of professional boxers are British champions. I think it's something like between 4 and 5%, if that. Right? I read that somewhere. I'm not sure how accurate that statistic is, but it is a very small percentage. So Barry Hearn said that Lee Purdy was an overachiever in the sport. Would you agree with that?
I think you'd have to ask Lee himself what he thinks looking back at it. But, you know, when I first saw him come on the scene, I was excited because he could punch, he could bang. So I thought, I wonder how far, you know, we could go with him. British champion, of course, it's a great achievement to be that. But to go on past that into international level, and as I said, fight in Atlantic City against Devon Alexander, who, you know, I mean, before the Amir Khan fight just in December, it was seen as a sort of 50-50, 60-40 fight. You know, at that level is pretty good to at least even be able to compete at. And he stuck in there with him, you know, Purdy, as he always would. And he was Darren Barker and Tony Sims, I think, back home, and Darren Barker there. It's just they had to sort of get, you know, they had to stop it because, you know, he was being outclassed. But, you know, he I think, yeah, maybe he did overachieve for that because, you know, a British champion is a very good achievement. But to have his, I think he won 20 of 26, and that's a really good record to go away from the sport with. And I'm really pleased that we're here tonight supporting him because he gave so much to fight fans in Britain and, you know, obviously in Atlantic City that night as well.
Never one for the trash talking side of it. I remember going out to Atlantic City and obviously that was all kind of new to Lee around that environment, and they were kind of wondering, you know, because they're the American style of boxers who get interviewed are brash and usually very outgoing, but Lee Purdy was the complete opposite of that.
Yeah, very different. Yeah, not the easiest to interview, but you know that was him. You know, Lee's, you know, he's a different personality, and he just liked to get in there and fight. You know, he really, I mean, the old cliche, he did let his fist do the talking, and he just wanted to go in there and box. And there was something fresh about him. There was something real about him, and I think that's why fans liked him because he was no nonsense. He got on with the job, win or lose, he'd entertain you, and I think he felt for all those people sitting at ringside who paid their money that he wanted to give them a show, and he always did, always.
Obviously, 26 fights, 20 wins from them 26 fights, and his injury to his eyes sort of brought a halt to his career, which is a shame in itself, Adam.
Yeah, sure, of course it is. You know, when a career overs, it's very sad, and whatever sport you're in, you've got to get used to sort of life after, which is a very, very difficult subject. And you know, it's why we're all here today to help him. And it's not easy when, especially if it's an injury that you know you didn't expect or whatever, and suddenly it's come out of the blue. But you know, it didn't happen sort of 3 or 4 years ago when he was on the rise. Maybe it's happened when he found his level. He had the chance in Atlantic City. He then lost to Leonard Bundu, you know, in that fight at the XL. And I think that if there was ever a good time for it to happen, it probably is now. So sad, yes, that he's been forced to retire, but also you wouldn't want to see him go on and then lose to people who, you know, 3 or 4 years ago he would have coped with well. So, you know, it's the way it happens, and I think he got. Once he looks back at it in 5-10 years' time, he'll be very, very happy with his career. I think he would have taken that when he turned pro. Would have taken that and then some.
All right, Adam Smith, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV, and let's have a good night.
Yeah, we will do. It'll be great.